Hey, everybody, and welcome to a presentation series from Relish Studio. They are a conversion-focused marketing for purpose-driven business leaders. I'm here with the co-founder, Stu, and the topic today is positioning through purpose and why Relish 1%. A background on Relish, it's their 11th year, and they serve as leaders of purpose-driven B2B companies who have always figured out marketing for themselves. Yet as they look beyond 2019, they see digital marketing has come far too nuanced and dynamic for them to continue to do it alone. Relish tell us they are looking for a trusted advisor to guide and support them as they realize the full potential of marketing to fuel their growth, and so that they can get back to doing those activities that they most value in their business. So here we go. We are here with Stu and Relish Studios. I'm going to hand it over to you, Stu.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Looking forward to presenting and sharing our story about how we decided to get a little bit better about our positioning through purpose and some of the activities that we did to get there. So looking forward to it. So we'll just hop right in. My name is Stu Swineford. I'm one of the founders of Relish Studio. Like Stephen said, we serve leaders of purpose-driven businesses who in the past have done digital marketing themselves. And as they look to 2019 and beyond, they really recognize that digital marketing has become far too nuanced and complex to continue to drive that themselves. And they're really looking for a trusted advisor to help fuel their growth through digital marketing. So just a little bit about our story. I'm going to start with why positioning matters. And there's plenty of experts out there that you can tap into about differentiation and positioning. So I certainly am not necessarily on the cutting edge of this discussion. These are things that we've learned, of course, for our 11 years in operation. The differentiation, market alignment, and creating target audiences, those are really great ways to open up this conversation about positioning and the value of it. One of the many things that the positioning does is really it allows you to become more specialized in your particular marketplace, and this is really a valuable component of your business and your business growth. One of the most powerful components of positioning is that it allows you to become recognizable to your target audience. So when you specialize and when you really narrow down your focus, it allows your potential clients and your target audience to really see you for who you are and how that fits with what they're trying to accomplish. And so generalists tend to be perceived of as, maybe they can do a whole lot of things, well, but when you really narrow that focus and zero in on your positioning, it allows you to really be recognizable to your target audience. You can become super hyper-focused. So like, for an example, might be, instead of just being a business that does, for example, digital marketing, that's pretty general. If we were to hyper-focus our business, we might say, and this isn't necessarily our niche, this is just an example, but maybe we would say we serve women-owned businesses who are 1% for Colorado partners in the B2C space who were recently acquired by another company. Now, that does a couple of things. It really narrows down our target, as well as allows those targets that fit that description to recognize that we are the people that might work best for them when they're looking for a digital marketing service. So for your own business, you can do something similar and really, really very hyper-focus and narrow your outreach. The second thing this does, it allows you to command higher fees. So one of the things that you're able to do when you specialize in this fashion and when you position in this way is it enables you to charge more for your services because you're so geared toward this one specific area of expertise that allows you to raise your prices a little bit within that area of expertise. So even as you are narrowing the audience, your ability to serve that audience more effectively, as well as raise your prices for the services that you provide within that sector, goes up. The familiarity with your potential clients and that recognition allows you to sell more quickly and get to that idea around, these guys get us, and that allows you to sell a lot more effectively, and then command those higher fees. It also allows you to do your best work, which allows you to do even more of your best work. So it kind of feeds on itself in terms of positioning. And this is positioning in general, right? So if you are able to make sure that you're doing the things that you do best for the people that you want to do it for most, that produces case studies, it produces your best work, it enables you to then sell in more of that work. And then the other piece of positioning is it gets to the no much more quickly. So when you're doing a pitch, or you're out there trying to talk to a new client, you're actually interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And so for both of you, it allows you to get to no. And one of the things that I certainly didn't come up with this, but no is the second best answer that you can ever hear. One of the things when you don't position well and you take jobs that you normally wouldn't take, that keeps you from doing work that you would normally do. And so being able to position and being able to focus on that very specific work, and get to that no more quickly, allows you to move on and spend your time doing the things that are most important for your business. So positioning from purpose, discussing why purpose matters. This is something that we came to as a kind of an organic process and an evolutionary process. And essentially, purpose and discovering one's purpose allows you to come at all of your engagements and all of your interactions from a position of authenticity. It allows you to align your business mission with your own mission. So one of the things that many entrepreneurs discover is that they have this opportunity to infuse their own business with their own personal ethos. And that's something that's really unique to entrepreneurism, is that you do have this opportunity to do this. You're in control. And so creating that authentic narrative, which isn't just based on marketing hype, but is based on like your own personal inspiration and passion, can be really powerful. Attitudes are currently shifting pretty heavily. And if you've done any research into not only workforce, but just how consumers are shifting their attitudes, things are changing in this day and age. And current trends and research show that 8 out of 10 consumers want companies to take a stand. And this spills out to your potential workforce as well, because employees in this day and age really want to work for something that makes more of a difference than just making money for them or for the business. And so this spills out into salary ranges, benefits, et cetera. If you have a business that actually stands for something and something bigger than just making money, your opportunities to attract employees and retain those employees goes up dramatically. And so this creates an environment in which your company is able to produce more than just revenue. And that creates opportunity for you, both from a consumer standpoint and all of your other stakeholders as well. So, backing up what your business does by something more than just that revenue stream can be really effective and really powerful. An example of this is a few years ago, Patagonia made the news by giving away 1% or more, actually, I can't remember exactly the first year that they did this, but on Black Friday, they basically said they used to shut down their stores on Black Friday to just allow people to go enjoy the outdoors. And then they decided to keep their stores open and give away a percentage of those sales. And then in 2016, they were following up a year of making headlines by doing these awesome things, and they said, well, how they were in a bit of a conundrum because they couldn't figure out how to handle things that year. And one of their employees came up with the idea. He said, well, what if we gave away 100% of our revenue that we get on this day? And people said, well, that's kind of an amazing idea. And they decided to do it. And it cost them roughly $5 million, $6 million, because that's how much sales they did that day. And people thought they were crazy. But it ended up spawning a 600% increase in sales during the following holiday sales cycle. So from Black Friday to the end of the year, Patagonia's sales went up 600%, which is remarkable. And so not only did they take a stand and they did something really great for the environment, because all of this money went toward environmental causes, but it actually resulted in increases in sales from previous years, just because people really loved what they were seeing. They were loving that Patagonia took the stand, and they responded in kind. So it can be really super powerful to take this stand and to do these things. And so that's where purpose comes in. And if you haven't done much purpose work on a personal level, that's where I would recommend starting, or that's from my experience where I started, was really trying to explore what it was that made me tick, and then apply that to my own business. So that was kind of the journey. And I'll get a little bit more into that right now. So as you heard at the top of our recording here, we serve purpose-driven businesses. So that's part of our story, is we're really trying to align who we work with what we're doing. Trying to find businesses that have a similar focus, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an environmental focus, but just something where people are doing more than just making money. And we serve the leaders of those businesses. So coming at this from the perspective of we're trying to help people be better people through improving the way that their businesses work. And essentially, what we're trying to help do is help these businesses grow so that they can give back more. And whether that's giving back in a financial aspect, or enabling people to have more time to spend with their families or with their communities, really just fostering that kind of growth that leads people to improving and augmenting what they do as an individual. So in the first about 8 years of our business, we weren't talking about things in this way. We still did a lot of pro bono work. We did a lot of work for nonprofits, but we hadn't formalized this sort of giving and this sort of framing of where we are. And so it evolved where I was starting to feel like I was just going to work every day. And as I said before, as an entrepreneur, you have this opportunity to basically build the business that you want to have and that you want to be a part of. And when you go to work, if you have a job, you don't have the opportunity to make those kinds of decisions or influence the business in that way most of the time. But when you own your own business, you can do things kind of the way you want. There aren't, I mean, obviously there are some rules in terms of honesty, and there are some laws that we need to abide by, but how your business is structured and how you do business is certainly up to you. And so what we started to do in 2016 was really take a look at how we were doing things and and offer all of our stakeholders the opportunity to do things a little bit differently. And so at Relish, we started formalizing our giving through 1% for the Planet. There are plenty of these types of programs out there. There's 1% for Colorado, 1% for the Planet. I'm sure that there are tons of other ways to kind of formalize this. You can do it however you'd like. But really what we wanted to do was lead with that authenticity and come at it from a standpoint of, this is how my business partner and I see the world, and we want our business to reflect that. And then, again, it was an evolutionary process. We're always adding to it. That mission statement, or that initial pitch kind of language has changed. It changes probably 2 or 3 times a year, where I go back and really look at that and say, is this still aligned with our mission? Is this aligned with our core values, et cetera? But we do make modifications from time to time to that. And we're continuing to add to our arsenal of ways that we're approaching business from a purposeful standpoint. So, for example, this year we are looking to make all of our websites carbon neutral. So essentially, we are building websites that are carbon neutral by investing in reforestation efforts to offset all of the carbon that we produce as a business. And so, that's going to be another component that we add to our story. So really looking for ways to take your own personal ideals and apply them to the way that you do business is really where I'm going with this. So targeting via positioning is something that can be really powerful for you and your business. And again, I touched on this a little bit before, where really that initial meeting that you have with your potential clients and your potential customers is to sort out whether or not you guys are a good fit for one another. It often feels like those are being interviewed by the potential client, but ultimately you're interviewing them as well. And so you have the opportunity to kind of craft your ideal engagement. And there are a couple ways, a couple mechanisms to do this. And the one that I like to do is imagine a target. And let's say you have 5 qualifying characteristics that you have identified with your potential customers. So if you think about your ideal customer and create a persona based upon that customer, if you can think about approximately 5 qualifying characteristics that help you identify who that is. So that might be revenue, employee count, mission, how many years they've been in business, where they're located, what needs they have. Could be a market sector. So for example, if you serve say physicians, or if you serve hunters, any of those characteristics that your top 10 clients share should become part of your qualifying mission or your qualifying exercise. Then when you talk with these people, listen for those, ask those specific questions. So let's say it's revenue, employee count, mission, years in business, and location. If you start asking those questions around the person that you're speaking with, you can just move in this target. So you start out here, and if the revenue that you're looking for is over $1 million, and you ask them that question, and they say our top line revenue last year was 2 million, then that moves in a tick. And if you require 10 employee count and they say that it's 7, then you don't move in another tick. If the mission is aligned, you just keep moving into this circle. And if you can hit 5 out of 5, then you hit a bullseye, and that's obviously your ideal client, and this is somebody that you definitely want to work with. So you're going to continue to court them. If they move in 2 ticks out of 5, that's probably not your ideal client, and you can make a decision there. The other component about targeting that a lot of people get confused by is you're looking for your ideal client, and so it's really a hunting kind of mechanism. If someone were to come through your doors, and let's say they're not necessarily, let's say they only tick off 2 of these items, but they're the most important two, then you might decide that you want to go ahead and work with that person, even though they're not a 100% match. So really what you're doing is just ranking these people, ranking these opportunities, and making sure that they're a good fit for you and your target audience. So you're trying to make sure you're a good fit for one another. So lastly, I just wanted to throw out some resources. And the first one that's been very valuable for me is finding my tribe. So really trying to engage with and join groups that are aligned with your particular mission or your particular way of thinking. And so for us, that was 1% for the Planet, Be Civic, E2, which is environmental entrepreneurs. We're part of Ascender. So these types of communities that are aligned with the way that we are looking to do business, and it enables us to learn more. It enables us to get support and information, expertise, and networking opportunities within our target market. So if you're in the environmental community, I would say Be Civic and one of the 1%. One of the 1% organizations would be great. 1% for the Planet is a fantastic organization. And then also one of the other organizations that's really great about aligning missions with outputs is B Corp or B Labs. And what they do is allow you to certify, really looking at your triple bottom line, where you're addressing all of your stakeholder groups. So your customers, your client, or your customers and clients, your employees, your vendors, and your stakeholders, and really being much more aware of how your business is affecting those people in a positive way than necessarily over your profits. So really trying to come at it from a perspective of gathering information and aligning your business practices with those stakeholders all in mind. And then there are a few books that I think are also quite helpful. Conscious Capitalism by John Mackey and Raj Sisodia, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Principles by Ray Dalio, and Enchantment, The Art of Changing Hearts, Minds, and Actions by Guy Kawasaki were all really great books that helped me understand and approach this idea, particularly of conscious capitalism and the B Corp movement, as we tackled our own journey through this. So that wraps up my portion of this. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has questions. And also I'm happy to answer questions offline. This is my contact information. So if you want to either take a screenshot or write down these numbers, you can reach me at any time. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Steve, did you have any questions?
Nice work, Stu. Thank you so much. That was incredible. I am going to take everybody off mute, and so if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask now, but after me, because I have a question first. I love the idea of the one thing that I'm taking away from here. You know how you always focus in on one thing when you're listening to a presentation. So the piece of gold that I'm leaving here with is the bullseye, the 5 different characteristics that I'm looking for in my kind of my match. I thought this was really, really interesting. Is there anything else that you can, how did you come up with this, and where does that idea come from?
Well, I didn't actually come up with this necessarily. This is something that I learned through some exploration and part of the peer group that I was in. But certainly the idea is that you start with your ideal client, and you start with your customer personas. And the way that we usually start that exercise, and I certainly have some things that I can share if anyone would like to learn a little bit more about persona development. But essentially you're asking a bunch of questions around what does your ideal client look like? And one of the great ways to start exploring that is to really start with your current client list, if you have one, and looking at those people that you would leap out of bed every day if you could do work for this person all the time. And if you can identify, 3, 5, 10 of these kinds of people within your organization that you've worked with in the past, and then sort of start to sniff out what characteristics do they have in common. And it could be that they are all, they're all outdoor people, or they're all, they all have mature businesses that have been around for 3 or more years, or they get that they need to invest in the type of services that you provide. But essentially, you're really trying to get a feel for what this target person looks like and develop kind of a persona around them. And then from that, you can build this target and essentially move into that ideal match based upon these commonalities between these types of people. And so, really through trial and error, we've gotten to kind of those five or so questions that I like to try and get an answer to, in order to establish whether or not this business is going to work really well for us. So for example, a lot of times, people will get super excited about this gigantic corporation that they'd really love to work with. However, that may not actually be the best client for you. And the only way that is really through trial and error and working through this and trying to stick to your guns when you have opportunities. So, did that answer your question, Steve?
It did, yeah. I'll leave it open for a second, but I've definitely got another question for you.
Okay.
Let's leave it open, see if I get anything from the chat. Okay, so my follow-up question to that is, have you ever said no, and what did that look like for you when you went through the process? You realized they didn't match any of your 5 characteristics that you're really looking for in a purpose-driven business. At what point were you comfortable just saying, we're not for you?
So that's the answer to that is yes. We have said no on a whole variety of occasions. And it can be a little tough because, at the end of the day, we all need to eat and we all need to put, roofs over our heads and take care of our retirement and all of those things. However, getting to the point or getting to that place where you can say no is, it's a really great place to be. For a variety of reasons. But the first is that being able to recognize when someone's not a good fit and confidently just walk away from that opportunity, coming at that from the position where you understand that the reasons why are in both your clients and your own company's best interests, the reasons why you would say no. Because at the end of the day, if someone's not a good fit for you, then you're not a good fit for them. And really realizing that and being confident in your assessment, as well as your ability to just say, we're not the best fit for you. One thing that helps is having a host of people that you can actually refer those poor matches out to is great. That allows you to, particularly if you're like me, where my default is I really want to help people. And so it is difficult to say no when you have someone that has a need and they're there in front of you and they
yes.
something, and it's hard to say no because you really want to help them. So building out your bench in terms of places that you can refer these types of people out to is super helpful, because it allows you as a person with an altruistic mindset, it allows you to feel like you're at least giving them some sort of opportunity to get some help. But there are lots of reasons why we might say no, and it might be that there's no budget. It might be that the they're not aligned well with us in terms of their mission. It may be that they don't have a mission, that all they're wanting to do is make a bunch of money and buy a yacht or whatever, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But ultimately, we are trying to do a good job of recognizing those clients that are best for us. Maybe that they're too big, or they're too small, or they're too early in their journey, or maybe that they're too mature. So we kind of have a pretty good idea of what's going to work, and that's why you also ask a variety of questions. So, for example, there may be a company that hits 4 out of 5, and I think that that's a great place to be. If they can hit 4 out of 5 of the things that you want to do, then that's not a bad match. If they hit 1 out of 5, then I would start to question whether or not that was a good match. But having this mechanism and having this process by which you can start that assessment is important. So that's kind of where we come at it.
For sure. And then cognizant of your time, I'll do one more question, and this is from the chat. Have you ever narrowed down your buyer persona all the way down to like 1 or 2 companies?
So we have not taken it that far, and I think that you certainly could. There are plenty of companies out there that have done so much work with their positioning that they understand that there are essentially, and actually one of them is a client of ours, and their positioning is so tight, so narrow, that there are essentially 8 to 10 companies that they want to work with, and the service that they provide is so beneficial to that particular client, and so expensive, and the retention is so high on it that their lifetime value is great enough that being able to position that narrowly works very well for them, and is a business model that works very well for them. So the other thing you can do is you can have multiple buyer personas. So if you have a persona that's very narrow like that, that can be one of many personas that you're going after, and so you can adjust your approach. You can adjust the way that you handle those conversations. All of that stuff can be very fine-tuned for each of those personas. But we have not done that personally, but it certainly is something that can be done.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Stu, that was incredible. There was so many value bombs dropped throughout that. That was so great. I'm so glad we recorded this and that we can share this to the world. But any last notes before we jump off?
No, I would just encourage people to do what they can to take the steps. Sometimes it can feel a little challenging. I think that there's a desire to, there's a fear of missing out that's out there, and certainly we continue to be challenged with this, and we could do a much better job of positioning our own business, and we continue to work toward that. But the quicker you can get there, and the more effectively you can position, it can really pay off. And so I would recommend doing what you can to get there. Know that it can change and it can evolve. And then, like I said, I have some items that I'd be happy to share if you want to reach out to me at stewart@relishstudio.com and just let me know you were on this on this session. I'd be happy to share some persona development stuff, which is really the first step of figuring out your targeting. I'd be happy to share that with you.
Beautiful, and we will get that out to everybody. Well, thank you so much, Stu. This is, as I said, this has been extremely helpful, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Me too. Thanks a ton. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thanks, Stu. Bye.
Bye.